If you don't work here, then tell me where you do work so I can get you fired. Last week or so, I was doing a supply run at the local Costco for our food truck, and I still had my hat and hairnet on since I was returning to the truck with a rather small haul. It was a busy day, and I picked what turned out to be the slowest line. And instead of sitting there watching old folks count out change, I decided to grab a hot dog and a soda. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes, in which time the first of 3 old folks only just finished paying, for the next to scan through and take forever. So this lady who's behind where I left my cart for less than 5 minutes just starts going off. Do you work here? Why would you just go off like that and leave your cart in line? I just sort of shrug it off since the line is basically still not moving. She throws in it must be nice to have all the time in the world to do whatever you want. I thought she must have been joking surely, and I just missed it. So I try to joke back, I'm sure you could grab a hot dog too. This is probably the slowest line here. Humor was apparently the exact wrong response, because this woman immediately gets irate and spits. Does your supervisor know you were holding up the line? What kind of unprofessional asshole just wanders off and leaves their cart sitting in line? I look at this lady like she's speaking ancient Egyptian. The line hadn't even moved in the time it took me to hit the food court some 10 cart lengths away from this sedentary till. There was still an entire person with full cart in front who themselves doesn't yet have the room to start unloading onto the checkout belt. Finally, I hit her with a "No, I don't work here, lady," to which she flippantly replies, "Of course not. The employees here aren't assholes who would do such a stupid, thoughtless thing and hold up the line for their own selfishness." By now, the cashier has started taking notice, as well as the bagger, since watching this lady make a scene is probably more entertaining than yet another old person counting out exact change. I'm still dumbfounded. Is this lady dense? The line hasn't moved at all. But before I can point that fact out to her, she unloads with "Where do you work? I want to tell your boss about how much of an asshole you are in public. Whoever you work for, you're making them look bad. What even the fuck? Obviously not if you can't tell who I even work for, regardless of whatever I might have done." Her bullshit continues, and I just try and ignore it, but it's literally damn near half an hour of this crap as we wait to be checked out. I only have 2 large items in the cart, so it's a quick scan and card to pay. Not even 3 minutes next to the 30 that the 2 ahead took. But she crowns off with "Why would you do such an asshole thing, huh? Why do you do such inconsiderate things?" This bullshit has been going on so long that I've basically had time to shower thought up the perfect clapback, so why not? I lean over the front of her cart, gripping it tightly. Put the smuggest, most asshole look on my face that I can twist up and say, "Just to ruin your day, Karen, I got out of bed today and was just waiting for an opportunity to make you in particular miserable." Before she can process that, I grab my cart and start rolling off, watching her go beet red in the face with pure, unadulterated rage. I basically said exactly what that kind of person feels. I confirmed without a hint of sarcasm in my tone that my goal in life was to make her miserable, but I guess being right didn't satisfy her like she wanted. The cashier and bagger looked like they were both holding back laughter as I looked over my shoulder to watch her silent meltdown. But the only thing she could muster was yelling "asshole" at me, to which I dropped a quick "up yours, Karen," and rolled off like a smug jackass, knowing I'd probably be living rent-free in that woman's head for a good while. As someone who works in food service, it was super cathartic to get to clap back consequence-free. "Young man, if you don't take that, I shall become difficult." I went to the grocery store today for some essentials, and tragically they were all healthy picks. Eggs, yogurt, spinach. Bleck. Managed to make it in and out of the store without any unfortunate run-ins with other people. And while I was walking to my car, I heard an older lady trying to get the attention of a cart wrangler in the parking lot. She was a little ways closer to the store than where I was parked in the same row. She was being ignored by a cart jockey with a full carriage of groceries and an open trunk on her car. Didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what she wanted. So I walked over, made sure the goal was to get the stuff out of the carriage into the SUV, and did it. Took me about 2 minutes. The whole time the lady was thanking me profusely, calling me a nice young man. I'm old enough now that it was flattering rather than condescending. Mid to late 30s. Don't rub it in. When all was said and done, and I'd made sure the trunk could close without smushing anything, I grabbed my own groceries, and the lady grabbed my arm to stop me. She was an older white lady, the kind where she doesn't look particularly frail And if she wasn't white and was wearing sandals, I'd be confident she could nail an evading target at 30 yards with footwear of justice. For those confused by footwear of justice, behold, La Chancla shout out to you / Sir 992, as it was quite clear that it was a good idea to stay on this woman's good side. Think matron rather than frail grandma. While I was not okay with being grabbed, she wagged something papery and green in front of me and said I was going to give it to that boy over there after he helped me, but he apparently couldn't hear me. She said with an eye roll, rather than try and argue, because again, this was a woman with whom one would not idly *CK. I took the green paper she was waving. It was a $100 bill. I was immediately like, nah, this yours. Take back. Too much. That sort of thing. And then she gave me a look and said, young man, if you don't take that I shall become difficult. The urge to cover my ears was so strong. This wasn't because she was shouting shrilly. It was because the last time I heard a woman speak to me in that tone of voice, my earlobe got pinched and I was dragged to the appropriate authority. Rather than argue, because I might have been born at night, it just wasn't last night, I took the money. Right after she released me, I felt something heavy slam into my side, knocking me off balance but not quite tipping me over. Once I recovered my balance and looked at what hit me, which was a full cart of groceries, I saw a woman in her 40s wearing big sunglasses, presumably, staring at me from the back of her own SUV. Put this stuff in there. I'm in a hurry, says the woman. She then proceeds to start talking on a cell phone and avoiding eye contact, with every expectation of me doing her bidding. Mind you, I was in black mesh shorts and a navy blue t-shirt. Folks who work for that grocery store wear white button-downs and khaki pants or shorts. It wouldn't have been okay even if I did work at the store. Pretty sure shoving a loaded cart someone's way is assault or something. But the sheer audacity of this woman left me stunned for a moment. My mouth opened and closed a few times, and I was attempting to think of how I was going to handle this particular situation because I've obviously spent a lot of time in the gym and the Karen didn't. If it escalated, which it probably would have, it would have been a really bad look. But as it so happens, I didn't need to do a thing. The older lady I'd helped previously walks over to the woman trying to avoid looking at me or her groceries, finds herself with a face full of matron. Oh, I didn't realize you'd had both of your hips replaced too, she said brightly. The Karen, flummoxed at the seeming non-sequitur, lets her phone drop and just goes, what? Well, that nice young man saw me being ignored by an employee and just asked to help. Such a nice thing to see in this day and age. And mind you, I've had both hips replaced. My doctor would be most upset with me if he found out I was exerting myself that way. When did you get yours replaced? They did mine one at a time, a few months back, she said brightly. The Karen replies, I haven't had my hips replaced. I'm kind of just in a hurry, now if you wouldn't mind. And she actually tries to turn away. Matron, sickly sweet smile on her face. Oh, so there's nothing wrong with you? You just couldn't be bothered to put your own groceries in your own car? You're simply too good for that kind of thing. She was on a roll now. And rather than ask that nice young man, you just gave your cart a push and hit him with it? Just said you were in a hurry. The Karen, well, and yet here we are still. It's taken even longer than it would have if you'd just done it for yourself, as you're perfectly capable of doing. The Karen started to puff up, now you listen, and instantly got deflated by an old-fashioned look. Children prone to misbehavior are quite familiar with it. It is a look that quite clearly communicates, we are in public. You are in trouble. Cease, or the consequences will be Old Testament. Seeing it work on a grown-ass adult was a thing to behold. Young man, please bring that carriage over. I think this nice young lady is ready to put her own groceries in her car. I pushed the carriage over and left it near the two women. Now you run along, don't spend all that in one place, she said with a smile. I gave her the Boy Scout salute. I'm not actually a scout, don't tell anyone, grabbed my bag, and beat feet for my own vehicle. The Karen was actually still putting her bags into her car, being supervised by the old lady. I might have cackled. Oh, you can take your kids to work? I live in a rural farming town, and this happened at the local feed store. Think like Tractor Supply, but a mom and pop-owned version. I want to get my usual stuff, chicken feed, dog food, etc., and have my 5-year-old daughter with me. She's looking at the horse riding equipment as she is dying to start lessons. I walk over and we start discussing what she likes and what she needs to start when a lady comes over and just starts talking about horses. I admittedly know nothing, but assumed she was just an excited fellow equestrian who overheard my daughter and I. Then she starts asking for recommendations on stuff, and I admit I'm not expert, and she might need to ask someone else. This lady gave me the dirtiest look and went on and on about how employees should be knowledgeable about their products. Completely oblivious to what she was hinting at, I give a polite chuckle and say, "Yeah, the family that owns this place is great. They would be more help than me." She again suggests that employees should be knowledgeable about their products in store and asks me for a specific type of rein, and I again suggested getting someone else as I'm just here with my daughter picking up a few things. She looks down at my daughter and back up at me and says, "I didn't know the feed store doubled as a daycare. You shouldn't be allowed to bring such a small child to work." Absolutely dumbfounded, I say, "I don't work here, and I'm just letting my daughter get her excitement out by looking at the products in the aisle we were in." Again, I suggest asking an actual employee because the family who owns the shop is terrific and has been in business for decades. With a very snotty look, she says, "I know you work here. I've seen you here almost every time I come in. You must be having a day off, but you could at least help me." I ducked out of the conversation to chase my daughter, who wandered off, and get checked out. As I'm leaving the store and giving county gossip with the clerk, who is a friend of mine, the lady walks up and complains how unprofessional I am and how even for a family business, small children shouldn't be allowed to join employees on their shift. The clerk looks at her like she's plumb dumb and tells her our customers are welcome to bring their children in. I don't know why they wouldn't be allowed. The lady still does not get it and just huffs some more about how we're lying to her. I pick up my hat, have it loaded in the truck, and as I'm driving off, this lady flipped me the bird. I'm still confused how someone who frequents the only feed store in the county that's been running for decades and thinks there's some wild conspiracy going on about me working there. Gave me a good chuckle, though.